Hey everybody, how you doing? Tom Barnas here. Stories from the 78. As I sit here a couple days after Groundhog Day, a month after the new year, I am cleansing my musical palette because I feel like at the end of the year, you kind of get into a rut and you want to cleanse your musical palette. At least I do. You want to try to figure out new music to try to do the new you or the better you for 2026 or every year after the new year, right? And, I came across some amazing music. It was like country, blues, rock, and throw in some piano, and you got your sound that is Jacob Tolliver. That is the story from the 78. His music is fantastic. He comes out of Portsmouth, Ohio, which is a place I've heard a lot in the news lately. I saw something about somebody doing a pink house, and now they're renovating a whole building. But this guy cut his teeth in Vegas with Jerry Lee Lewis, like the Jerry Lee Lewis. Went on tour with Jerry Lee Lewis, also Randy Travis. He's worked with Post Malone, John Stamos. Got to get a story about that. Luke Bryant. I mean, the list goes on and on. He's a fantastic country artist. He slays the keys. They tickle the keys, whatever that people say. I don't play piano, so I don't know. But I welcome Jacob now to the story from the 78. Jacob, man, how you doing?
Hey, Tom, thanks for having me. Doing well.
Oh, man, so good to see you. Thank you for hanging out with me for a second here.
Yeah,
So you were just in Chicago, right?
it was. It's been oh man, it's a brutal week. We
Yeah,
had
you kind of picked the word. I mean, it's February,
the
right?
weather was the worst part, or the best part. The worst part was all the food. We ate so
Oh,
much.
okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah,
It
you're
was
from
so
Ohio, so
good.
you're used to cold, right?
Yeah, the cold was nothing, but man, we had, I think in like, I don't know, I can't even count how many deep dishes we had and beefs and all the stuff you got to do when you're in Chicago. But ugh,
Well, I'm curious because a lot of people, when they come to Chicago, they have one of two things. They want nothing to do with beef or deep dish pizza, and they want to do like the foodie scene, like in the
I-
West Loop or
yeah,
Logan
yeah,
Square or something like that. So
the
you fall.
hipsters. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, because Chicago is more than like deep dish pizza
yeah,
and whatnot, but you're the deep dish fan. You want to come here for some deep dish, right?
I like it all.
Yeah,
I
me
like
too.
it all. I like all the other food too. We had so much good food. Um,
I,
had a good Italian dinner at La Scarola.
oh,
Oh,
nice.
right.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been there.
that was a good one. Yeah, just hit it, and we didn't do like, well, we did some of the like, I don't know, the commercial uh deep dish and beefs, but a beef I've never had was Mr. Beef. Did that, so that's not like a main, you know, it's not
I
Al's or Patillo's.
No, but are you
Yeah.
familiar with the bear?
Well, no, but my cousin just filled me in on this, and that was one of the reasons why he goes, "Good dude, we gotta go to Mr. Beef."
You have a good cousin there. Nice job.
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome.
So you cut your teeth, or you spent some time in Vegas, right, doing Million Dollar Quartet, and
Did.
you were Jerry Lee Lewis in Million Dollar Quartet in that story. Am I getting that right?
Correct. Yeah, right out of high school, I got cast and
Wow.
cast off of a YouTube video, pretty much. They saw a YouTube video of me playing, and this casting agency they reached out and said, "Hey, we want to fly you out for an audition tomorrow." And I'm 17 years old, and so I'm like, "Can I talk to my parents?" And yeah, obviously it went well. And so the following week, I turned 18. They called me the next day and they said, "All right, kid, you got the job. Do you want to do this or college?" And I was to go to Ohio State. I was supposed to start going to Ohio State January 8th, 2013, and
Oh
January
wow.
8th, 2013, I started Million Dollar Quartet. So that was like a month before, and books are paid for, dorms are paid for, all the I was fully ready to be student, but that it didn't pan out.
How did that conversation go with the parents?
Yeah, that was interesting. My dad's like this 80s rock, Van Halen, Led Zeppelin,
Hell yeah. Me too.
AC/DC, Motley Crue, like it's just
Huh?
he loves rock of all kind, really. But and he like played drums as a kid, like he'd be in local bands, and he still does sometimes. But so I thought he would be like, yeah, go chase your dream. And his side of the family, historically, they were all kind of blue collar farmers. He was a iron worker most of his life. Then he owned a Harley shop. So, laborers, blue collar. And then my mom's side, they were all doctors, lawyers, surgeons, whatever. And so I thought my mom, who she worked at the local university, I thought she would be the one that would be absolutely not. But it was the other way around. Mom was like, it'll always be here. And dad was like, you're going to be the first one to break the mold. Like I was going to be like the poster child of the family, the first one to go to college. And, finally we figured out what's the harm in an audition. And then when I got the offer, that was a big conversation. And, we said, well, let's do a 6-month contract. And I 6 months to myself about 8 times. I was there about 4 years. Yeah.
So you went to college in Vegas, is what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah,
Yes.
that is exactly right.
Rock and roll too was
Yeah.
the subject. And so, what did you learn by just leaving home? When you thought you're going to college, you leave home, you go to Vegas, and you study some rock and roll icons, right? And
Yeah.
you became friends. Am I misspeaking when I say you became friends with like a legendary rock and roll performer in Jerry Lee Lewis?
Yeah, correct. Through that um, 4-year period of time, I got to meet him and get to know him, and then eventually this amazing friendship emerged, and we became like he's like my grandfather. Um, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, not only was he a legendary rock and roll player and singer, I mean, he was the architect. There's only a few of them that invented the genre, and he was one of them. You have Chuck Berry, you have Elvis, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and Little Richard, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. Fats Domino, you could argue, people like that, but the dude invented a genre. Like, I mean, he wasn't only like the best of his. He's not like he was just like the best of his genre, but he like invented it. It's pretty
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
literally, like there's pictures of him with like the piano on fire,
Yeah,
right? Because he
yeah,
just made the piano sound like it was alive, like it had a soul,
yeah,
which is the whole point of like rock and roll. And you mentioned the other, like the others that you mentioned, and there's not many left where you can learn from them personally versus a YouTube video or archival footage. You got to hear him one on one. I mean, what was that like? I mean, did you even fully understand what was happening when it was happening?
yeah. I
Was your
did. I
dad
mean,
cool? Was he like, dude?
oh yeah. Once that stuff started, I mean, it was pretty quickly everybody became okay with it because it was pretty obvious that the path I was on, just these amazing things were happening, and that would only happen if you were meant to be doing it. It was just
Right.
wild stuff like that. Um, and yeah, I've always been a sponge when it comes to that stuff. I've always loved history, and I love like taking advantage of that, like that situation. Like I realize this guy's not going to be around for much longer. I want to suck the knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, even one of the reasons I was up in Chicago last week. One of our traditions over the last 5 or 6 years is to go to Buddy Guy's and see
Oh,
Buddy at
yeah.
his club, and
Yeah, the
he's
residency in
yeah,
January.
he's the last blues dude left, really.
Yeah.
Like like OG guy, and so same thing. It's like I just want to go and like just absorb that, man, because that's not gonna be around for much longer. And so I've just always kind of had that mentality with most everything in my life, even whether it be if I had an option to hang out with my parents or grandparents, yeah, I'd go with the grandparents. They're not going to be around as long. Uh, I don't know.
Well, a
That's
lot
just
of
always
people
kind of
don't
just been my thinking.
yeah, a lot of people don't necessarily always think that way, like right now is right now. I don't care about this or, and it's not necessarily somebody's character. It's just like the way we are programmed now to go through life. You got your
Yeah,
phone, you got everything you need. Like I struggle that now, that conversation with my kids about like, right. I get that you can get everything you want to a degree on your phone, but
yeah,
spending time with people is priceless, especially your grandparents. They can,
yeah,
I mean, my grandparents linked me back to, World War II, so like and I value that now more than I ever did, or
yeah.
my dad, connecting me back to my family. So it's amazing that you had that forethought right away, and maybe because you were in presence of some musical royalty, that it maybe exemplified that a little bit more or
It made it
had
a
it
little
into
easier.
your
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, for sure. I get that. So I got to ask, what about the video that you posted on YouTube caught the producer's eye out in Vegas for Million Dollar Quartet?
Man, I don't know. It wasn't even like this viewed video.
What was it? Do you remember?
I don't. It was something boogie woogie something. I had a when I was in high school, I had this buddy who he was it was like so into videoing and like uploading videos to YouTube, which
Hmm.
at the time was just like, who's seeing this? Like, what's the
Right,
point?
exactly.
YouTube wasn't this like monetized, career that it is today. It was just stupid cat videos. Like, why are you wasting your time? I thought that was the dumbest thing. And he kept for weeks. He's like, man, let's make videos of you in the music room after school, and like I'll make a YouTube channel for you, and you can have YouTube videos. I'm like, that seems really stupid. Why would I do that? And finally, he bugged me enough, and I stayed after one day, and we went into the choir room, and we just filmed a bunch of things. And we did that a few times. That happened. We did like a few, 4 or 5 days throughout a year, maybe, where we just went in the choir room after school, and just stockpiled some. Now you call it content.
Sure.
Back then, that wasn't even a word for the. And so they just sat there in the middle of like in the universe, and nobody was seeing these things. I have no idea how these people found the videos, and it was linked back. He made this channel, my buddy, and he linked it back to my email. So I get home during high school. I
Unbelievable.
was working at this pizza shop, and I got home from work one night, and I get a notification from YouTube saying somebody commented on your YouTube video. I'm like, who in the world? I guess I click on it,
It's
and it's,
wild.
hey, we're Madorma Casting in Las Vegas. We'd like to give you a call about an audition for Million Dollar Quartet. And I was very familiar with the show because it had just won the Tony that year on Broadway, and
Yeah.
it had started its run in Chicago already. I think it
Yeah, it
still
was
holds the
here
record for the
forever. It was
longest
here at the
running
Apollo
musical
Theater for years.
forever.
I loved
Yeah,
it.
I think it still holds the record for longest running musical in Chicago history, I think. Um, and so yeah, I was very familiar with it, and yeah, called them the next day, and they said, "Hey, we want to see you tomorrow." And I go, "Okay, here we
Man,
go." Yeah,
what kind of music were you doing at that time, just in general? Like, were you like serious musician? Were you just doing it like at school? Like what was your musical career at that moment?
yeah. I mean, at that time, I was really lucky. We had this amazing music program at our school. The lady that was over it, I mean, we were one of the best in the state, and she was um, just incredible. And so a lot of that though was choir or musicals. And then that led to community productions of things. And so I had gotten a bunch of that kind of stuff under my belt, and
Hmm.
enjoyed it. And piano, I didn't start playing until I was 14. So I really was like still
Wow.
stumbling around trying to figure out how to play a piano. When I got cast in the Vegas show, I didn't know. I only knew how to play in three keys: C, F, and G, which are only those are piano keys. Guitar keys are E and A. And so
Hmm.
I go out there, and I practically had. I realized, oh crap! All of these songs are in guitar keys. I don't know guitar keys. I don't know B. I don't know E. I don't know A. And so I had to
Jeez.
like relearn. They put me up at a Candlewood Suites for 6 months before I got my apartment, and I would sit in that hotel room with headphones on until like 4 a.m. and just trying to figure out how to, like, I relearned the piano again, in all these different keys, because if I couldn't do that, then I didn't have the job.
Oh, no
So
pressure, man.
no pressure, and I didn't tell anybody. I just, thankfully,
Oh, you fake it till you make it.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, here I am. But that was one of those moments for sure. But yeah, that was kind of the extent of it. And I knew I've always been musical, and I love singing and whatever. But I didn't know how to make a career of it. And so my plan was to go to Ohio State and become a publicist. And I thought, I could become a publicist for a musician, or for a musical, or for, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
something that would get me into entertainment through the back door. That was like my only plan, because I can't read music. So I wasn't going to go to school and flunk theory, and that would be a waste of money.
Sure.
So yeah,
And
so
you
here I
have
am.
now over 2 million views on TikTok. You've worked with, I'm gonna get this right here, Randy Travis, Luke Bryant. I mean, right there. Hello. And then you got Jerry Lee Lewis, Post Malone, which is very relevant today, my friend, because Post
Yeah.
Malone slayed it at the Grammys doing that Ozzy tribute. And then there's one name that threw me off just a tad, and it's only because Chicago Riot Fest and John Stamos was a huge deal this summer. They've been trying to get John Stamos to come to Riot Fest for like 20 years, and he
They should
showed
have
up.
gotten a hold of me.
Well, he did. He did come
Yeah,
this past year with the Beach Boys, which was fantastic, by the
that's
way,
cool.
and also weird, because it was Riot Fest, Beach Boys, but it all worked and it was
Yeah.
beautiful, and that's like what music is. How the hell did you end up working with? I know I'm probably the only person on the planet who's more interested about the John Stamos connection off the top, but tell me about that one if you would.
Um, so when I was in Vegas, this is kind of a long way to get there, but follow me along.
Sure, I'm here.
When I was in Vegas, we performed. Million Dollar Quartet was at Harrah's, which is on the Strip, right
Yep.
across from
Mhm.
Caesar's Palace. One of the hotels is still there. Uh, it started out as the International Hotel. It became the Hilton, and then
Mm.
recently, in the last 10 years, it's become the Westgate. It's off the Strip. That's where
Okay, yeah,
Elvis Presley did his residency for his whole, the whole Vegas career was there,
right on.
the whole 70s career. And so because of the Elvis in our show, we got invited to this red carpet event that they were having at the Westgate. Um, and it was some like Elvis show they were putting on. Well, it was sponsored by Graceland, Elvis Presley Enterprises. So Priscilla Presley, Lisa Marie, Elvis's grandkids, all of the Memphis Mafia people, everybody was there. Well, you may not remember this name. Do you remember the name Wink Martindale, the old game show host?
Yeah, I
You would know his
vaguely.
picture. If you pull his picture up, you would definitely know him. Wink Martindale was there. So Wink hosted like 23 game shows in his career, like more of the game shows than anybody. Um, but he started out on radio in Memphis, and he was the only guy in the room alive. He was the last man alive that was in that room the day they played Elvis's record for the first time in Memphis, 100 years ago, 50 years,
That's
75 years
awesome.
ago. So he was there.
Unbelievable.
Well, Wink and his wife and Wink's son, Eric, were there. And at some point in the night, there was a party, an after party in Elvis's old suite. Through a guy I used to know, a guy named Joe Esposito, who was Elvis's best friend, he got us up to this party.
Not Joe Esposito, the singer, right?
No, this is
No, okay,
he was Elvis. They met in the army, he and Elvis,
got
and they were best friends, best man at the wedding, guy, pretty much the guy that found him dead, pretty much. And anyway, it's like one of his closest people in his life.
got it. Sorry.
Uh, but he was there because of the Elvis thing, and so he invited us up. He snuck us in. We weren't allowed to be there. Snuck us into Elvis's old suite, and here we are all of a sudden with Priscilla and with Lisa Marie and like all these people, like faces that you know.
Wow.
Well, at some point, Joe got me up onto the piano. There was a piano there in the suite, and we just got done doing performing our show, so we were sweaty, nasty. Like it wasn't. We did not look appropriate for this event. Everybody else was in
Sure.
tuxedos, and
People are
sipping
like, who the hell are
champagne.
these guys?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a bunch of schmucks. And so I said, Joe, no, absolutely not. I don't want to play this. And we kind of fought back and forth. And he goes, okay, okay. Well, sure enough, 15 minutes later, the guy on the microphone said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a kid out here who's performing in the Million Dollar Quartet. Jacob, come up and show us what you got. And so I get up on the piano and do my thing.
No
Wink
pressure.
instantly comes over. Wink and his wife and his son. We talk for like 3 hours. They come to my show the next night. We do the same thing, talk for like 3 hours. Well, I find out that Wink's son Eric has a management role for the Beach Boys. Okay,
Okay.
so Beach Boys, John Stamos,
Uh-huh.
right? For those of you that don't know, John Stamos has been playing with the Beach Boys since the '80s. He was a
Yeah,
huge Beach
Full
Boys
House.
fan. He met them at I think Disney years ago, and just has had this open invite to play with them forever.
Yep.
And he's an amazing drummer. So at some point, Eric, the son, he said, "Man, because I got to get you to my buddy Jeff Franklin's house,
Oh, the producer of Full House?
producer Full
Wow.
House."
Wow.
And he goes, I gotta get you to my buddy Jeff Franklin's house. He has these
Unbelievable.
crazy jam nights, and he goes, it's the Beach Boys and it's Tom Jones and he like mentioned all these people, like just crazy names that you've heard and seen 1,000 times. And I thought, okay, sure, we'll see. Sure
Yeah.
enough, two weeks later, the guy gives me a call and says, "Hey man, Jeff's having a party tomorrow. Can you come down?" Well, our show was off it was dark that day, and so drove down to L.A. and here I am. I'm with the Beach Boys and Tom Jones and all these people. So anyway, Jeff Franklin and Jeff's now like my uncle. Love, like we are. It's like my older bad influence brother or second dad, or like one
Sure,
of those
yeah.
guys. Um,
Good old
and we
Uncle
just
Jeff.
yeah, good Uncle Jeff. We just like hit it off, and over music, like we both just he's a music nut, and as am I. We both love the same music, and then we became like concert going buddies. So I don't know, we've seen the Rolling Stones together. I don't know how many times, and McCartney, and like I don't know, we just like the same music. Well, through that, I got to know the whole Full House world, from Jodie Sweetin to John to Bob Saget to Candace to you name it,
Wow.
and it's an amazing, like, no, I don't know of any other TV show where they are family. It's really amazing. I mean, these guys are as close as they are on TV. It's it's pretty incredible. Um, and yeah, just became buddies with John, through that, through that. And so we've done. He was also. I think you're referencing that TikTok video we did where we're running down the street trying to find Randy Travis. He was in that with Post Malone and Luke Bryan. But I also put out a song last year called Cinderella, and he's doing the opening sequence of the Cinderella book. He's reading. It's the typical fairy tale book opening, and he's once upon a time in a land not so far away. Blah blah blah.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, awesome guy. He's super super sweet dude.
Very cool story, man. Thank you for sharing that. That is the connection. I'm surprised, not surprised, I should say, listening to you about John Stamos. So the reason why I even know as much as I do about Full House at the moment is my kids love it, and
Oh,
they were watching the old version of Full House with the whole the whole cast, right?
yeah.
And I've watched every Beach Boy episode with John Stamos. Is it true? Does he have, not true, I'm guessing this is a question because of the character he plays. Does he also love Elvis, or is it just all coincidence that it was an Elvis thing? Because in Full House, he's madly in love with Elvis and the persona of Elvis.
Well, I've gotten two answers of this over the years. Stamos says he loved Elvis. Jeff Franklin said, Jeff Franklin, loved Elvis. Therefore, I made this character Elvisy, and it was for my own enjoyment. And then through that, he became an Elvis fan.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know.
very cool.
Yeah.
That's some Trivial Pursuit stuff. I gotta
Yeah.
write
Yeah.
that down.
Exactly.
So I mean, so this audition that your friend put up on YouTube that you recorded in the choir room or the theater
Yeah.
area of your high school in Ohio got you to a party in LA, hanging out with like TV and music people that are legendary.
Legends. And not only one party, but one party became, I mean, I'm flying out to Jeff's birthday party next week, actually. I mean, it's
Unbelievable.
become dozens. I mean, it was wild. And these are all people, again, like I've always loved history. So I've always, like, that was just something I just found so incredible. So the fact that I could be playing piano with Tom Jones, like, that's
That's
just,
ridiculous. I mean, that we just skimmed over all the other names, but
yeah,
I
freaking nuts.
mean,
The Stones came one night. They walked in. It
what do you
was,
do when the Rolling Stones walk into a party with Tom Jones and other people? What do you do?
you wet yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably throw up somewhere, like in my shirt, and then excuse myself. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about, wow,
Literally
that's,
stuff you can't even make this stuff up. I mean, it's just the stories. I could talk for 5 hours about this stuff. It's crazy.
well, I'll give you a full circle sort of moment for the Rolling Stones since you brought them up. So in Chicago, I'm sure are you familiar with Chess Records in Chicago?
Oh, of course.
Okay. So I went to Chess Records, and Willie Dixon's, I believe it's his wife. She runs the Willie Dixon Foundation, which is inside Chess Records. So, and if you've heard the story, stop me.
No.
So, the Stones, they fell in love with American music, blues music, and they made a point to come to Chicago because that's where their heroes recorded, right?
Yeah.
So they're, they get to Chess Records and they got their gear, and they're futzing around in the car getting themselves together, and they notice like these guys walking up the back stairs with their gear, and the gear that they're walking up with, the gentlemen are wearing like shirt and ties, and they're like, oh my God, that's Willie Dixon. He's carrying up our gear. So they're freaking out. They feel terrible. They're like, no, 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 it's fine. And Willie Dixon's like, nah, nah, welcome to Chicago, boys. We're taking care of, So we go up, I'm there in the story. They
Yeah.
go up into Chess Records. Have you ever been in the recording studio on the second floor there?
So I've actually never been, and it's funny because I was looking at uh, their availability of being able to go to it this last week, but it didn't work out with our schedule. Um, is this the story where Muddy's on the ladder?
Oh, I don't know that story.
I would
No,
say
but
I think it's the same. It's from the Stones, I think. But keep going. I'll tell you
it
that one.
might be, but yeah.
Yeah.
So Muddy and Willie Dixon and the Stones were in love with Willie Dixon and what he did, and they get up there and they're so embarrassed because they carried their gear up there. So now Willie Dixon's in the studio at Chess, right? And the Stones are out, and legend has it, according to Willie's wife, that the Stones, they're getting their gear and they start playing a song, and they were so intimidated by the presence of Willie Dixon and others in the studio that they didn't sing. And that is the album, or that is the song on the album that the Stones have. That is, I forget the name, but it's something like
I have
28
it. Yeah.
2813 South Michigan Avenue, because that's the
Uh-huh.
address of Chess Records. And the legend has it, the reason why they didn't sing, because they were so embarrassed by not only that he carried up his gear, but then they were so intimidated by the musical royalty in that room that they didn't want to embarrass themselves. So they
Oh.
just played just instrumental, and they called it good. They're like, no, that's good. Like, we respect you and this place too much. So if the reason why I'm telling you this story, Willie Dixon made them do exactly what the Stones did to you. How about that?
Amazing. I've heard. It could have been Willie, but I think it's Muddy that trip that when they went there in the '60s, they walk in and up on a ladder painting
Yes, that's
is
part
Muddy
of it. I
Waters.
forgot.
Is
Yes.
Muddy Waters. He's up on a ladder painting. Yeah.
Isn't
It's
that
like
but that just goes to show you, I'm sure you've had this moment now where you're like, they're just people, man.
they're just
They're
people.
people. They're people. They drink water. They drink other things. They eat Rice Krispies at one time in their life. Like, whatever. They're
Yeah.
just people. They're doing their things. But
Yep.
you have many. I'm sure that you could probably write a book of the things that you've found so far, and you're just at the beginning of your career. I mean, as far as like going out on your own, you're doing your thing. You released a new single that was out. It's called If the Phone Ain't Ringing It's Me, right?
That's it.
And you got that up on YouTube, you got it on your website. And
Right.
what has
That's
that
it.
been like? You said you're a sponge, right? So you have all these people that you've met. I don't know, do you like roll up to like Keith Richards and ask him questions at a party like that, or do you stay your distance and just gawk without looking like you're gawking?
You're opening a can of worms if you want to hear that story.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Why not?
Okay, yeah,
Not many
it's a whole
times I
thing.
meet people that have met the Stones or Keith
So
Richards.
it was only I say the Stones. It was only Mick and Ronnie. Keith wasn't there, sadly, and Charlie wasn't there. But so there was a buddy of mine. This guy, his name was Steve Bing. Steve was a pretty high profile guy. He was a real estate mogul in Los Angeles. He inherited something to the tune of $600 million when he was in his early 20s,
God
and
bless.
he moved to Los Angeles and just kept doing real estate, and then eventually got to a point where he thought he was very creative, and he started transitioning into producing, and so he did like the Polar Express and did
Wow.
the Rolling Stones documentary Shine a Light.
Sure, yeah.
Did a lot of cool things. Well, one of the things that he did is he brought Jerry Lee Lewis back in the early 2000s. Like, Jerry Lee's career had died, and he did this album called Last Man Standing, where he was paired with like everybody. I mean, these duets. It's a whole duets album, and it's incredible. So anyway, through Jerry Lee, I got to know Steve Bing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Steve during COVID sadly committed suicide, but he at this time, when I first started getting to know him, it was around 2013, 14.
Sure.
And he, one night we were backstage at a Jerry Lee Lewis concert. We were in New York City, and he was talking about wanting to do something with Tom Jones and Jerry Lee Lewis. and I had just got done playing Jeff's party with Tom Jones. And I go,
Jeez.
huh, that's funny. I just played with Tom last week at my buddy Jeff's house. And he goes, wait a minute, Jeff? Talking about Jeff Franklin? And I go, yeah. And he goes, man, because we used to be really great friends. He goes, I really don't see him that much anymore. He goes, man, next time he has a party, he goes, let me know. He goes, I'd love to come by. Like, love that guy. And I said, sure. So Jeff, a couple months later, was having a birthday party. Text Steve, hey, Jeff's having a birthday party. That was it. Well, that day, the day of the party, he said, hey, I have a dinner I have to go to. Might be a little late. Keep me posted if Tom Jones is about to go on. I don't want to miss it. So I'll make a point to leave my dinner. So
Wow.
I text him, hey, we just finished dinner. We're heading to the music room. You should probably get up here. He goes, great. Be there in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, I get a tap, tap, tap on the shoulder. I turn around and Steve says, Mick, I'd like you to meet Jacob Tolliver. Jacob Tolliver, I'd like you to meet Mick. Ronnie's right there. Ronnie, I'd like you to meet Jacob Tolliver. And I am like the biggest Stones fan. I had just seen them on their tour like 2 months prior. I'm like blown away. So that was it. Quick interaction, man. Big pleasure. Big fan of your work. Kind of stumbling over my words. Whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm surprised you
So,
remember it. I would have probably blacked out.
oh, it was No, I don't forget any of it. So there's like 200 people at this party, and it's for the most part kind of regulars. Like they're used to the Jeff parties, and
Mhm.
so a famous person walking through the door don't mean nothing. It's just
Yeah, sure.
another. Yeah. Well, when all of a sudden Tom Jones becomes the small man in the room, like something's weird, and there was just this buzz, man, like the whole night, and it was like Beatlemania. It was just like these people were going like very like some of them were celebrities that were going crazy. It was hilarious, and it got to the point where as people kept drinking more and more, and the party kept progressing, people would like literally like jump over people and like try to grab at Mick and Mick, I'm a big fan, and they'd like jump over people, and it started getting kind of like aggressive.
Oh
And
boy.
so now Tom Jones is finally singing. This is about an hour or so since they've been there, and they stayed about 2 hours. Well, I had lost track of them for about an hour and a half, hour and 15
Mhm.
minutes, somewhere right there. Well, I was near Steve. I was walking from room to room when somebody jumped over somebody and tried to grab at Mick. And Steve looks over at me and he goes, "You talk to Mick. Don't let anybody else talk to him for the rest of the night. I'm gonna talk to Ronnie. This is getting ridiculous. They just want to have a good time and watch Tom Jones." And so all of a sudden, I'm like Mick Jagger's bodyguard. Mick Jagger's bodyguard was here, by the way, but
He
Steve
was
was
having a
just
good time.
he was just positioning me to have a conversation with Mick Jagger. Is essentially all I was doing. And so all of a sudden now, like we're on each side of a hallway.
Uh-huh.
He's talking to Ronnie. I'm talking to Mick, and we're kind of like blocking them into the wall so nobody can talk to them. Well, Tom Jones is on, so we're like watching Tom Jones at the same time, and I'm just kind of like bodyguarding over here. And it was a little weird at first. It's Mick Jagger.
Yeah, what do you ask or say to Mick Jagger?
Yeah, you don't really. And it's like, but it was cool, but it was just a little awkward. And because he didn't know me, right? I mean, I could be another one of the crazy people.
Sure.
And I am no. And he started loosening up. He goes, "Oh man," he goes, "Dude, Tom Jones in the living room, man. Like this is, he's like starts like Mick Jaggering in front of like right here. I mean, he's like right here.
Are you like, am I on TV? What's happening?
Yeah, literally, Mick Jagger's Mick Jaggering. So finally, like it starts loosening up, and like we're cool. We're talking about our love of Jerry Lee, and both knowing him. And Jerry Lee loved the Stones. He called them his boys. Oh, my boys. And so then all of a sudden, like it became cool. Well, pause. A year or two prior to this, I had a video go viral of me playing piano in a hardware store.
As one does.
And yeah,
Mhm.
crazy, like millions of shares. I mean, like I don't even know the viewership. It's nuts. Anyway, he stops. We're in the middle of a conversation. He just stops and he goes, "Dude, you're the one from that Stole video, aren't you?"
Holy shit. That's fucking amazing.
Crazy. And
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
wait a minute, you know me? And he's like, yeah, man, that's sick. I'm like,
Wow, that's amazing.
crazy. So we talked for another 15 minutes or so. And then it started getting weird again. People were like pushing us out of the way and trying to get to him. And it was getting just awful.
Yeah.
And they were starting not to have fun. And so he can't make, literally can't make this up. This is crazy. I mean, it sounds like the best fabricated story I could have ever come up with.
I'm in.
Tom Jones is on stage doing Great Balls of Fire, Jerry Lee Lewis song.
Holy hell.
Tom and I, for the last year, we had been playing at Jeff's parties, doing a lot of. Tom Jones loves boogie woogie, as he calls it. Loves Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis and Fats Dominic, like just eats it up. And so
Mhm.
we'll play until 5 a.m. just back and forth. He's singing, I'm singing, whatever. So that was back then. We haven't done that in a long time because he moved to London and whatever. But it was a small period of my life that was incredible. But
Yeah, man.
so anyway, he's doing Great Balls of Fire, and Mick goes, "Man, I'd like to see you do one before we split." Um,
Are you like, I'm
he's like,
sorry?
"Yeah," and you should go up and he's like, "You should go up and do one." And I'm like, "No,
Mick
I
Jagger
can't."
asked you to go play some music for him.
But how do you kick Tom Jones off the stage?
You don't. You
You
just go
don't.
up with him.
You don't. Well, no. I mean, you can't do that either. Like unless you're asked. I swear, just like clockwork. I mean, it sounds like I'm making it up. He just finished Great Balls of Fire, and he didn't like whoever was playing the piano, and he said, "Jacob, get up here and let's do a whole lot of shaking and let's do it right." I'm like, "Oh, there's my cue." And Mick's like, "Do one song, come back, and we'll get a picture." And I'm like, "What?" You know. So I go up. It's me at the piano, Tom singing, I'm singing. I don't know if you remember Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits.
Yeah, for sure.
Something tells me I'm into
Yeah.
something. Like Peter Stamos is on drums,
Holy
and
shit.
wild. And so we do a whole lot of shaking. And I mean, I'm doing my whole. I mean, I'm giving it my all. And at the end, I'll never forget this moment. I'm standing on the piano, and I got the microphone, and I'm singing. And Tom's below me because I'm standing on top of the piano, and he just has this smile ear to ear, and it's like this moment frozen in time where, amongst this chaos, I'm really doing it for the Rolling Stones, but in my head, like it froze for a second. I go, "Wow, this is what a crazy moment!" And I was able to take it in for just a split second. The song ends. I jump off the piano. I go back to Mick and Ronnie. We go to the front door. Snap, get a picture, an amazing picture. They're in a limo and poof, they're gone. And it was like the craziest. What just like was that? Like what a fever dream. Can't make it up.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, craziest thing.
What did Mick say to you when you jumped off the stage to rejoin him?
Well, it was kind of like there wasn't much there. It was like, oh man, great job, but like
Yeah.
they were the mob was moving. Like it was, hurry up, we gotta go. Like the car's here, snap, snap, snap. Get
Well,
the picture, go, and it was very organized.
I imagine taking a photo would have set, if people saw it, they'd be like, well, I want one. I want one. That's why he's like, all right, take a photo. Let's go.
And yeah, literally that's what happened. And they shoved them off real quick, and poof, they were gone.
Oh,
It was,
man. Have you
yeah.
shared that photo publicly, or is that something that you have kept private?
No, it's on my Instagram somewhere, I think.
Very cool, man.
So Jeff Franklin, he then later goes, "You prick." I was playing it cool at my own party, not asking a picture for the Rolling, and I didn't even ask for it. Here's the funny thing: I'm playing it cool, not asking the Rolling Stones, who are in my house, not to take a picture. And you little punk, you're the only one that got a picture in this whole, whole freaking party. So the next year for his birthday, I replaced my head with his head, but photoshopped it really poorly, where it's just a little too big.
Yeah,
But
for sure. Perfect.
yeah, so it still hangs somewhere in his house.
That's an amazing story, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's
Yeah.
probably the best rock and roll story I've heard from another human versus reading it in a book. So, and I've interviewed some people that have been in the business, but not with again, John Stamos showing up in that one, which makes sense now with the Jeff Franklin connection. Like my brain is like melting. So,
I mean, really, all the credit is to Jeff, though. I mean, the fact that this guy he just hosts these incredible parties, and he's just a really everybody loves him, and he just has a great ear and a great sense about how to do those things correctly, and so people just want to be there, and it's a really great time. It's really a testament to him.
Yeah, God bless people that do that, right? Because they could just be completely shut off from the world and not tell anybody about it. And
Yeah,
what's the fun in that? That is like what you like when you think about like when you go to a concert, right? And you're like, what do they do? Like what do they do when they're not playing music? Like
yeah,
where are they at? Oh, they're at somebody's house listening to somebody else play music that is not somebody but Tom Jones. And
yeah.
then like that's just like
Well,
what
and they
you
were freaking out too because they hadn't seen him since the '60s. So, like
holy
to
hell.
them, because that's like English Elvis, and he's
Yeah.
still going.
Fucking hell.
It's so that they were kind of giddy about it. Not giddy, but they're still the Stones. Don't get me wrong, but there was a level of fandom. I mean, they wanted to come up and see that.
That's incredible. Of
Yeah.
all those people that you met, Jeff included, because you mentioned not only is he sounds like he's a great human being, but you mentioned he had a good ear, and talking to Tom and and befriending Jerry and all these people. What set of advice did somebody give you that you were like grabbing that and running with it? Do you like? Does anything stand out to you?
Jerry Lee would often critique shows, and so because I was his opening act for 3 years, and it was really cool. Like he wouldn't just send me out and that was that. He would listen, he would have the monitor up and he would listen. And he would I can't think of anything specifically because it would be like specific to the song and that
Sure, sure,
performance.
sure.
But he goes, I'd come back in. He goes, Killer, that was a great job you did out there. Now, maybe when you go into that lead right there on that second song, maybe what if you did it this way? Or he'd have like these little things, and so I would learn kind of bits and pieces like that through him. But honestly, the biggest, not to just sound like completely name droppy here,
Nah, we're
but
sharing. We're friends. It's good.
uh, probably the biggest piece of advice that I ever got was from Elton John,
Oh,
and met him one time. Quick interaction. There was we
he knows
worked
a thing or
together
two
more than
about playing the piano.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was a quick 20-minute conversation. Like it was, but it wasn't just amongst me. It was amongst with some other people. His big advice was go go to black gospel and dissect it. And
Interesting.
he said that he started with Little Richard, who isn't necessarily known for his gospel music, but uh,
And didn't he do that after the little like his rock and roll career? Didn't he go into like
well, it kind of bookended. Yeah, he started with it and left it and went back. He kind of went like he kept going back to it over the years. Um, but the early stuff was the stuff he was talking about,
oh right.
um, and so that I had never given gospel music the time of day. Um, and man, when I started diving into spirituals and just the black church, wow. I mean, I learned so much in a super short amount of time. And that was like a big, because you kind of plateau as a musician. Like you'll go a year and you really don't grow, and then all of a sudden, poof, you just have this amazing growth all of a sudden. And I had plateaued for a while, and then I dug into that, and man, I mean that probably was the single-handed most just the best advice I've ever received. And as a piano player, highly recommend any other piano players out there to do the same. I mean, it was just amazing.
I interviewed somebody recently who wrote about the history of gospel music, and a
Mm,
lot of its origins are in Chicago, just on the south side of the city,
really?
and yeah, and I forgot. I don't know if I have. I mean, it just not very long ago, but it's on my website. But it's about just like the history of gospel music and how it got started and why it got started, and it's a fascinating read. If you have a moment to just type in gospel music Chicago book, you probably will find it, or look at my
Yeah.
website. But either way, it's very cool that that is the advice he gave you, because it's like almost going back to like a purity of like the heart and soul of a musical genre or a
Yeah.
musical format, right? Like to hear it in that way, where Elton John will like reflect and think about what it did for him and how it affected you. That's a great story.
And you think about it, I mean, it's kind of it's the root to so many. I mean, there wouldn't be blues if it weren't for Southern black gospel and hard times, and there wouldn't be a jazz and American jazz, and um, it really like spurred these other genres that are incredible. And so that's when I really started digging into blue. I kind of followed the lineage and started digging into blues, and really started. I didn't know much about Willie Dixon and Muddy Waters and all those people prior to this whole kind of whole trail that I followed, but. Um, yeah, and even the stuff that's not piano based, like it doesn't have to be a piano player, but
Sure.
it's any of it. It's just you hear the chord progressions and just where they're going vocally, and it's a cool thing, and you really see it in Elton's music. I mean, most of his songs are pop songs, but they're written to a gospel melody. You think about it. I mean, they're pretty gospel heavy.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about blues music, and in Chicago, not to name drop Chicago, but there's so much of its history here. I interviewed a few people over the years where I'll go to different parts of the city, and like Chicago's Hyde Park neighborhood and South Shore neighborhood,
Yeah.
those areas, like in Hyde Park, I think on 57th Street, and for a time there used to be, for I don't forgot how many miles, like in a 4 stretch mile, there was like 50 or 60 bars, and every night you would be able to hear blues music in the city of Chicago. And it was a time, now you have like Kingston Mines. I don't know if you've been there, and of course
Love it. Yeah.
yeah, you got Buddy Guys, legends, but there's just um it's just it's a crazy thing to see, like the history kind of still there, because some of those buildings are still there, but Chicago played such a huge role in music, especially blues music and soul music. I mean, people
Yeah,
forget, like Nat King Cole lived here, Sam Cooke lived here,
sure.
it's a crazy time, but
And that is weird, like because that is such. If you say Chicago to an average person, there's only a few things they think of right out of the gate, right? They think pizza, or they think a beef, or they think Wrigley Field, or they think Sears Tower, or
mhm.
whatever. But one of those things is blues, and for that to be such an identity of that city, there's very little like
I know, it's
now.
weird, right? Like
It is weird.
I interviewed Billy Branch. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
familiar with Billy. Yeah, so Billy
yeah,
Branch,
he's
we
great.
we we talked just like how we're talking now, and in my interview with him, he was putting out a new record, and he was doing it at Rosa's Lounge, which features a lot of blues music in Chicago, and he talked about that era of time in music in Chicago, like in the 60s, and all those
Mm,
bars on the South Shore neighborhood and Hyde Park,
sure.
and how he would play, and every night you can go somewhere and play. We even talked about Buddy Guy and his scene in the movie Sinners, and
Yeah.
how important that was to keep that torch alive, that hey, by the way, there's a Midwestern city that has huge influence on the world that nobody
Yeah.
knows about. They think of, Nashville or Memphis, and rightfully so for the things they offered, but there's so much history that just for one reason or another, I don't know, but I'm here to
And St.
talk about
Louis,
it.
same way. I mean,
Yeah,
who nobody
absolutely.
thinks of St. Louis blues much anymore, but that's one of the things that's their identity. Uh,
That's why they're in
I,
hockey team, St. Louis Blues.
yeah, my I think my philosophy is that just the hard times aren't there, right? I mean, these guys grew up hard. I mean, listen to
Yeah.
Buddy talk about how he grew up, and that's not much of a reality anymore. I mean, there's still hard times, but not to the level those guys were living. I mean, no running water and no electricity, and you're still in you may not be slavery, but you're still in the fields picking cotton for a very low rate, very low wage, and it hard times don't know nothing about those hard times.
Right, right. Oh man, there's so much history. I could talk to you forever, but we've talked a while, and I know you
Yeah.
got to get back to your life. I appreciate you taking time. But before we wrap it up, I'll ask you where people can find your music. But what would you describe the biggest transformation from your music when you started Million Dollar Quartet, and you've played with now Tom Jones, and you played for the Stones and all the people we've talked about? What would you say your music is now? Because you do play the piano. It's got like this rock, country, pop vibe thing going on, but I want to hear from you. Like, what would you say your music is today based on all that stuff we just talked about?
Yeah, if you're trying to like pinpoint genre, man, I don't know. When I go into writing a song, like when I go to write a song, if I think the melody's great, that's what I'm following, and I'm just going with it. I'm not trying to force it into, oh, this little ditty sounds like a country song. Like if it's a country song, it'll be a country song. Like let it write itself. Um, so it's interesting. Like it kind of goes back to me being a sponge, and you'll see a lot of influences with a lot of things. But I have a whole batch of material right now. Three of the songs are currently out. There's a song called Sunset Cemetery, Cinderella, the one Stamos was on, and a song called Never Made It to the Moon. And we put those out last year. There's music videos with those. That's from a body of work. That's from a body of work that I recorded in Valdosta, Georgia, a year and a half ago with this producer, a guy named Mark Neal.
Mhm.
Um, he's this wizard of a producer, just a wild personality. You go to him if you want to make a good album. He doesn't come to you, and he's in the middle of nowhere, Valdosta, Georgia. It's
Sure.
incredible. Um, he's produced the Black Keys. He does all of Charlie Crockett's stuff. Just got a cool vibe.
Wow.
So we recorded this album that's very I don't know what the word would be, but it all flows together very well. It's very cohesive, I guess would be the word. And it's what that is, I don't know. It's Americana, it's indie pop, it's very, very different. And that kind of was a result of just COVID and me uh, trying to find me as an artist. And these amazing songs were coming out. And I don't know if those songs are pop 40 songs or if they're not. I don't really care. Those are just what was
They're
going through my
yours.
head.
Yeah.
Um, but then I have some songs that we just put out. We recorded with another great producer, a guy named Kyle Linning, who recorded all of Randy Travis's hits and so many others. He's an amazing producer. We just did, I think we cut 5 songs. Three of those are out: the Honky Tonk Side of Town and If the Phone Ain't Ringing, It's Me.
Hmm.
And those are kind of cohesive within themselves. So it's very up tempo country, almost 90s country, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I hate to even call it anything. Um, but it's all me. Like it's all, I don't know. It's just all things that are going through my head. And I have a whole album of gospel songs that we've yet to record, but we will soon.
Ah,
Um, so man, I don't know. It's all over the place, but you start from the kid that was in Million Dollar Quartet, or the kid that was playing piano at 14 years old. It's all, it's all been, there's a line for sure that you can follow of the influence and where I've learned things. And um, I don't really have this desire to be the one trick pony that I don't care to put out 35 more if the phone ain't ringing, it's me. Like I'd rather just write the song that comes to me, And so it's not, I want to call it all over the place. I mean, there is a through line of an identity of me, but it's definitely not the same thing over and over. So to pinpoint a genre, I'm not really sure.
well, if people want to learn or see or hear your music, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, jacobtolliver.com will pretty much take you to any outlet you want to go to, your preferred way of listening. But Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, you name it, and then all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and it's
Jacob,
all Jacob Tolliver.
awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. This is great.